What's up guys, it's Michael here. In this video, we're going to talk about how to start your business part 2. As where we left off last time, we discussed when starting a business, you have multiple entities you have to register with your state. In this video, we're going to start with what we're going to do, which state which you should go and choose from. So, the first question you need to ask is, where do you want to form your company? You got to pick a state at the end. So with the state that you currently live in and operate within, is it a business-friendly state? For example, Delaware, and the most notable one that majority of tech companies are moving to, Texas. And where are they moving away from? The most unfriendly business state that majority of people want to get out, including where I'm living in, good old California. So, in the previous video, we talked about business entity type in the first section. Now we're going to talk about which state you should form them in. In the previous video, we discussed there was 3 types of legal U.S. entities. So there was the C corporation, the S corporation, and there was the LLC that majority of people use. So now, in part 1, you know what's the legal entities. Then what is next? Your purpose is to incorporate, to limit your liability and protect you from your privacy and your assets. Where you form your business and or corporation matters. Some states are more business friendly than others. So first, you're going to need to determine which state that you're going to form your company with. Should you form the company with the state you live in? Or you should form the company with a business friendly states such as Delaware, Nevada, even including Wyoming. So there are a few things you need to ask yourself. Are you going to be a big business or are you going to be a small business? For example, a small business or like your mom and pop shops, or you're trying to go big right off the bat. You have multiple investors. For example, you want to start a car company or you want to start a giant like tech firm. You have to dedicate where you're going to be a small or large. Number 2, will you have shareholders? Shareholders are people who provide you the necessity or the income to start your business. So if you have shareholders, are you expecting to go into a venture capital and add more shareholders in the future? You have to ask yourself that question. That usually applies to big businesses. And also, when you're signing agreements with your shareholders, is it important to have privacy between the shareholders and the officers of the company? So some shareholders that want to invest in you usually want some type of legal entity, something to rely on just in case everything goes to crap. The top-down simple answer is, if you have a small businesses or a one shareholder or no additional shareholders in the future, you don't want to also create registration fees and annual filing fees, or you have shareholder privacy is not absolute priority, then it would be better for you to form the company with the state where you live in. So if you don't have any of those problems, which for small businesses you don't, you just go ahead and make the company with the state you live in, because you won't have people come and harass you constantly. For example, California, because California actually has the right to go to your business and harass you because that's the law. Even it's not ethical, but they still do it. So if you're a big entity, you're most likely to be targeted. If you're a smaller entity, a lot less likely. So if you're going to go big entities, then it's better for you to just go to a different state such as Delaware, Nevada, Wyoming. If you're a small entity, go ahead, just go whatever state you're currently living in and just go from there. So, breaking down to the second part is why. So generally, the benefits from forming a company in a business-friendly state includes, so compared to, let's say, Nevada, they have enhanced privacy, they have more knowledgeable courts, and the best of all, no income tax. So if you go to a non-business-friendly state, for example, Oregon and California, then you lose those 3. You lose your privacy, because they can attack you anytime they feel like it, or they feel like, oh, you're doing something that's, against what they like, and they come get you. And when it comes to courts, and most likely will not be on your back. As you can see from major of the news medias, California don't have the backs for businesses. And also no income tax, not possible in California. Our income tax is going up. So what is enhanced privacy? For example, in Delaware, you do not need to disclose key details about your officers and your directors when you form your business. So that gives them better privacy protection from other people who wants to attack your business or want to cause harm to you. If privacy is concerned, then Delaware would be a good option for your incorporation. But in other states, for example, a company's officer and director's name has to be on public record. So if someone wants to look for you, they can easily find you. And the next one is knowledgeable courts. depending on the state, if you get into a financial issue, or for example, you have two parties butting heads to heads, then you have to know knowledge of your courts, because to incorporate your business and be business savvy, you gotta know your courts. The courts will help you get out in big trouble and can make or break you actually. If your business is in a state where that is not business friendly, then it could cost you if you have to go to court. In Delaware, for example, is particularly very friendless for businesses in general, because judges and attorneys in that state are particularly knowledgeable and skilled. So if you have a lawsuit involving your corporation in that state specifically, it can be resolved by experienced jurists, not a jury made up of lay people. Meaning, for example, if you go to a lawsuit, they can bring in people who know nothing about business, and it can be all against you, just straight up biased. That can basically just give you the middle finger straight up. In that place, they have someone specifically related to business and dictate whether it's right or wrong, which you have committed versus the party versus whatever business they're targeting. So another thing is, if you're trying to get investors for your business, it's very attractive to operate in business-friendly states. Because investors see that, they're like, oh, California, operate there. Oh, look, you have a lot of taxes, you got people against you, you got people that just want to just basically rob you of all your money. Then investors go like, oh, I'm out. Forget it. Why you want to spend money in places where they want to, basically most likely you're not going to succeed. Unless you put in other places business friendly. If you see like Nevada, Delaware, Texas, they're like, oh, hey, look, this state has a lot more business friendly, no income tax. And when it comes to getting in financial trouble or in lawsuits, hey, easier for you guys, for the business person to fight back and dictate what's right and what's wrong. What a breakaway is, investors and banks, they love to show strong preferences in corporations and businesses that are more business friendly, for example, Delaware. If you're looking for eventual capital or going public, such as IPO, then incorporating into Delaware could give you an advantage, an edge over your competitors. So next, what makes Delaware one of the best places to operate? There's no income tax in that state. With a business-friendly tax laws, there are clear financial reasons that other corporations that move into those type of states will incorporate that state. Because if you incorporate Delaware, you can have your headquarters elsewhere, and you do not have to pay the income tax in Delaware. And people said, it's not fair. Well, guess who write the laws? Not the business people. The people are on top. You're on top is the one who write the laws. That's why they say the rich get richer and the poor get poorer, because you gotta play the game. If you play the game, you can basically find financial freedom. The next part is, why not? A lot of people ask, like, you have to form in Delaware? Or why should I form in Delaware? Well, if you think about it, if you form a legal entity in Delaware outside the state where you live in, the first is incorporating into Delaware. Delaware, sadly, is not ideal for small businesses. They're ideal for big businesses, because most of the benefits offered in Delaware are for big corporations with lots of shareholders, because that is what that state wants. So small businesses might not be able to take advantage of all those benefits at all, such as you only have one shareholder when the corporation law protects large shareholder. So if a small shareholder of a company gets in a fight with a larger shareholder, for example, a bigger company with multiple shareholders, the one that state's going to help is mainly the larger shareholder, because money talks. Next is adding expenses. If your business is too small to benefit from the corporate-friendly state laws, then corporate in Delaware will require expense and trouble without a lot of extra advantages. So you're a small business and you want to operate in Delaware, your advantages drop compared to other places. Although there is no state income tax, there is also annual filing fees and franchise tax with that state. So when you operate a business, you gotta check list by list where you want to operate and what do you have to pay at the end annually. So at the end, you gotta remember that you have to pay tax in the state where you operate your business. A lot of people thought that you don't have to pay the income tax when you incorporate in a no income tax state. That is actually not correct. In that part, we'll cover another video where how some businesses can incorporate businesses on other states and don't have to pay the income tax. There's a bunch of loopholes right there, and that one's a video for another topic. So breakdown and to take away in part 2, if you have not watched part 1, go to my YouTube channel and find part 1, watch that. I'll explain the 3 entities. So in part 2, we can conclude from this, if you have a large business, Delaware is the place to go. If you have basically shareholders or investors and you want to have a stronger protection over a larger shareholder, then you should operate in Delaware, because Delaware is more business friendly to larger corporations. And you got to understand there are also additional registration fees and annual filing fees, but for those companies, it will not bother you. And if shareholder privacy is absolutely not a priority of your business, you go right ahead. The last you might have to consider is when you form a company in a business-friendly state outside of your resident state. So for example, if you live in California, you operate in Nevada, then you have to figure out what laws apply to you. If you don't live in California, you live in multiple business-friendly states. For example, you live in a business-friendly state in Nevada, you want to operate in Delaware, then you can form a company in the state where you live in. If you find that as both of them are pretty much equal, then go right ahead. Just open your business where you're currently living in. I'll see you next time. Please like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you in part 3. Peace.